This is Capital Views, and I'm Mike Bradner, and we have with us Kathie Wasserman, who's the Executive Director of the Municipal League. And Kathie, you face some real challenges this session, along with the legislature and the dialogue that has to take place. So sort of dive in and give us a little background of the dynamics.
Well, Mike, we represent all 164 municipalities from the municipality of Anchorage with approximately 300,000 people to the city of Bettles with, I think, 10. So their needs are varied, but it all boils down to they still need a little bit of the state's help based on the resources that the state takes in order to not raise their taxes to a level that the residents can't afford. So we'll be trying to maintain the revenue sharing amount that the governor put in his budget this year, hoping that that will help alleviate some of that tax problem.
When you pass on, let's say pass on the problem, because it's a problem for everybody, it's all is not equal to the people that it affects. I mean, there may be capacity in some communities, other communities, or we're going to shut down the government.
And that's true, but when you look again at the mechanics of the thing, who is going to make that call? It might be very easy to make that call on the very, very large communities and the very, very small communities. But when you get to those middle-sized communities, who's going to make that call whether they need it or don't need it? I mean, when you start to winnow down things like that, then you cause another problem. And maybe that can be done, but I would think that would be hard to make that judgment call.
Well, not being negative, but for a lot of people who live in urban Alaska, I mean, do we know a lot about these communities? Is our picture a correct one? I mean,
I don't think so, no.
I mean, they come to our communities in Anchorage from small towns and villages, but we don't get to go to theirs.
Well, you could, but most people don't.
Well, also, you'll find out that it's pretty expensive to go there. And,
right, just like it's pretty expensive for them to come to the large ones, yeah.
And, but they have some awareness of Anchorage. They have relatives and people, friends who live here, and we may think we do in other communities, but do we?
I don't think so. I hear, having spent most of my time in Alaska in a small community, I hear people all over, especially from the larger communities, say things that just are not based in reality at all, just sort of a feeling of how things are in the small communities. So I don't think people have an understanding, no.
Well, on the revenue side, we've heard people say, well, what's going to be fair, this tax or that fair, so on and so forth. But you don't hear that as much on the cut side of the community, that you have to look and, you know, what's fair to Bethel?
Right.
Is that fair to Anchorage?
Right, and those, you're right, those could be two different answers. And that's just one very small part of some of the items that the legislature is probably going to have to muddle through. But I hopefully AML can help them do that by providing them information as to how each municipality operates, or you know, what their financial obligations are.
But we're in a process we're having to lay aside a lot of previous suppositions about things. We had plenty of money, and now we don't. It's a different world. And the awful word taxes comes up.
And municipalities, you know, I think we've talked in all of our meetings, this is not always a bad thing. If it makes them become more efficient and effective, then it's a good thing. And that is part of the good section of this whole financial crisis we're in. But there's a point where you can't be any more efficient or effective. So
Are municipalities, of course they are, worried about a state sales tax because it's their primary, one of their primary sources?
Yes, And we hear more of the state sales tax talk come out of Anchorage, of course, because it's the largest population, and Fairbanks, neither community of which has a sales tax. However, if you go down to Wrangell, where they have a fairly substantial sales tax, how is the state going to address putting another sales tax in? Is that going to expand the sales tax in Wrangell? At which point Wrangell will feel the necessity to lower their sales tax, which then makes municipalities hurt a little bit more. So we're certainly willing to talk about a sales tax if there's a way we can do it to protect those communities, but it's not our first choice.
Is one of the issues that a sales tax is not just a sales tax, it's a sales tax on different items and different exemptions. So, if the state tax sets the agenda, then like Wrangell or Juneau or somebody may lose money because they have to make that up with
Something else,
yeah.
property tax or other fees.
We had a dialogue about that some 15 years ago. And I think it's an issue that's an easy decision for Anchorage or Fairbanks, but it's a burden for local others.
It is. That's going to be part of the discussion as well. And like I said, we don't want to come out just totally saying no to anything. We think everything should be on the table, but we certainly would like a say-so in how that would be structured, or at least have someone listen to us and our concerns.
And they may get most of the listening from the big cities.
I would think so.
Well, at statehood, we had a very broad representation from rural Alaska. Literally, it was almost a perfect socioeconomic map, and that now has changed dynamically.
It has changed a lot, and that's made things a little more difficult.
And that's also made that a representative from rural Alaska or a Wrangell or Sitka, they have lots of buckets of water to carry. They're not just a Republican or a Democrat, you're a little piece of the mayor and the assembly and everybody who's there.
Right.
Kathie, we're out of town again, and I'm Mike Bradner, and this is Capitol Views. And Kathie, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.